The day is upon us, the game we've been waiting for, the biggest game of Greg Berhalter's U.S. men's national team tenure, the biggest game for this group of young, exciting players. USA versus England. We are an hour away. The lineups have been released. Now, we got a little bit of a surprise this morning with the Wales versus Iran game. Wales and Iran are the other two teams in the US's group. In a surprise upset, I think Iran beat Wales 2-0. It was two goals after the 90th minute, after Wales conceded a red card really late in the game to Iran. So it kind of changes up the dynamic of this particular group, and we'll get into all that and how that affects the U.S. in a second. First of all, let's introduce Brad. Brad, how are you doing this morning on this day of days?
I'm a little tired, a little food coma-y, but also because I was up at 4 a.m. to watch Wales just really lose a heartbreaker to Iran. I mean, but Iran really was on the front foot for the whole time. And the Welsh goalie, Dean Henderson, Hennessy, just coming in there with one of the worst fouls I've seen in quite some time.
It was pretty bad, man. That was about as clear of a red card as you can get from a keeper. I mean, you're an absolute maniac for waking up that early to watch the game. I was content just checking the score when I woke up, and I was like, oh, man, that's different. Now, as far as the USA versus England, we've got the lineups. Let me go through them real quick. I mean, for the U.S., there are some surprises because we didn't know about the health of Weston McKennie. We weren't sure about the health of Gio Reyna or Serginho Dest. Greg went out and put out the exact same 11 from the first game, except for striker. He went with Haji Wright instead of Josh Sargent. We talked midweek about the performance of Josh Sargent and whether or not he was going to start again. We'll get into Haji Wright in a second. England went out and put the exact same 11 that they had to start the first game against Iran. They have Harry Kane, who was an injury doubt with his ankle issues. We have Raheem Sterling, Mason Mount, Saka, we have Rice in the midfield. We have Jude Bellingham in the midfield, Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire, John Stones, Kieran Trippier, and Jordan Pickford at keeper. So first of all, reactions from the lineups, the surprises being Gio, Weston, and Serginho Dest.
Well, I think the injury surprises aren't really what's concerning me. I think what's concerning me are the yellow cards, actually, because as much as we are excited for this game, I mean, it's USA, England. The storylines are everywhere for this. The big game that we could go through for is next week against Iran. So if you have those two players on yellow cards, it's a bit nervy when you send them out there. Now, being no Gio Reyna, the quotes from Greg midweek weren't great. There was tightness, and then there wasn't tightness, and then he was an injury scratch, and then he was a coach's decision. So I don't know. I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it for England. Even though there were the two Harrys are nursing knocks a little bit, but I mean, when you win 6-2, why change it?
Yeah, my read at this point is unless like a player leaves the field on the stretcher and is immediately carted to a hospital following the game, I think Greg's going to say that they're fine and good to go for the rest of the tournament. That's sort of my read. And I saw actually after the Brazil game, I mean, the pictures of Neymar's ankle kind of went viral around the world. He had that big swollen ankle following the game, and I saw Tite said that he would be fine and he would be good to go for the rest of the tournament. Like, yeah, I don't know about that, man.
Well, they came out and said today he is out for the remainder of the group stages, but will be back for the knockout rounds. Yeah, should they get there, and I think they're deep enough to where we all expect them to get there.
Yeah, clearly. So, yeah, I'm not expecting Greg to be super honest with us about the injury situation for our players. That's his prerogative, whatever. I feel it's concerning about Gio Reyna. I'm not sure what his health is at the moment. Hopefully we can get some time out of him. It seems like to me this lineup is sort of set up for try to keep it as close as you can for 60 minutes and then bring in some subs at halftime and try to go for it. I think now's as good a time as any to talk about sort of the math that we have left with the way that the results have gone in this group so far. And essentially, a tie and a loss doesn't really change much for us in this game. The only thing that could really affect us moving forward is a win against England.
Yeah. I mean, technically, but if my math is correct, if we tie today, we can get through with a tie against Iran because we have 2 goals on them in goal differential. We would both be sitting on. No, I am so wrong.
No,
I am
because they would have
so
4
wrong.
points and we would
Jeez.
have 3
I've
points.
been up since 4. I'm a little tired here. No, next week win and you're in, and it's good to have your destiny in your own hands going into the final match day, which is really all you can ask for at this point.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you gave U.S. men's national team fans a choice a month ago and said, look, if you beat Iran, you're through to the next round, I think a lot of us would take that.
100%.
That's an opportune thing. But if we beat England today, we still have, I think the ball is definitely in our court and we have a lot of opportunity moving forward. So it's pretty much beat England or bust today. A tie doesn't really do much for us. So that's what it's going to be. So look for Greg to really throw the kitchen sink at England. And I think I think that's what he's going to do in the second half when you could potentially bring on Gio Reyna. I don't know what his health situation is. Brendan Aronson. We have a few strikers on the bench. I mean, we have some opportunities here if we can keep it close with him to really go after him in the second half.
This is if Gio is healthy and we kind of think that he is from what we can surmise from reading between the lines of all the weird comments. I'm surprised he didn't start him and then bring Gio in the second half. I'm sorry, and bring Weston in the second half if we're trying to lump balls forward a little bit more because he is that good in the air. And 30 minutes versus 60 minutes, his health, he probably would be able to have a bigger impact with the shorter time because he's nursing that groin injury.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just, I mean, looking back at Gio Reyna's U.S. men's national team career, I mean, Greg started him his first game where he was available whenever he was 17 years old in a big friendly, I believe, against Wales. I can't remember.
Maybe
Switzerland. Yeah, Wales. Okay. So, I mean, he started him there and he was starting him every time he was available. He started in the Nations League final. He started in the first game of World Cup qualifying against El Salvador. He was injured throughout the rest of World Cup qualifying until the last round. And the last round, he wasn't 90 minutes fit, but Greg brought him in every single game in that last round against Panama, against Costa Rica, and against Mexico. He was hurt after that. He re-aggravated that injury. We didn't see him again until September. He wasn't 90 minutes fit in September. Greg played him in September, where, of course, he came off after 45 minutes. There's just no indication from Greg Berhalter's tenure that he would ever pick anybody above Gio. I mean, every time Gio's been available, he started. So the only thing that I can surmise from the events that have taken place so far are that Gio's not quite right. And I can tell you, I know I am not Gio Reyna. I am an old, unathletic man, but I actually pulled a QL muscle recently, like a few weeks ago. And I've been in the physical therapist's office and kind of like strengthening it and whatever. And it was fine. It was good. And then today I actually pulled the other one, just doing a workout this morning. So like, these muscle things are so weird. I'm not a physical therapist. I probably shouldn't say much about it, but I think that's the most that I can gather. Now, let's turn our.
I was going to say, most likely it's still that hamstring that's bothering him. Hamstrings are notoriously finicky.
Yeah. Green Man says Gio says he's healthy, and Greg said it was a coaching decision to not play Gio and not an injury thing. That's what Greg said.
Yeah,
that is what Greg said. I don't believe him at this point. I think he's misleading us in order to gain some type of tactical advantage against England. That's kind of consistent with what he's been doing. I don't see any world in which Gio's available and he's not playing him. That just doesn't make any sense to me. As far as the way England's set up, I mean, what are our expectations from England in this game? I mean, they came out against Iran and ran up the score against them. To be fair, though, in that game, it's not like they scored a bunch of repeatable goals. I mean, they scored just about every opportunity that they had, and they scored some goals that you just aren't going to score in every game. I think that the score line might have favored England a little bit, and I think we saw that with this Iran team that came out and gave Wales a game today. I don't think that they're going to score on every single opportunity that they get today. But what do you expect from this England team today?
Well, you also have to remember that Iran lost their keeper 9 minutes into the game with that pretty graphic head injury. So you have a keeper coming in there that's not expecting to be in the game in the world's biggest stage, and had a few nervy moments. And also, I think um, one thing that's worth noting is that Iran did hit them on the counter twice and put two against them. So there are some weaknesses in that. I mean, that's the same amount of goals that they scored today against Wales. Granted, they were very, very late goals. And the second one was everybody was forward, but they put two past England. So that's nothing to sneeze at, really.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I definitely think that we can go toe to toe for him in the midfield, and that back line does not scare me. But that attack is still very world class. I think our defense is our back line is really gonna have to be up for it today.
Yeah, let's talk about our back line. I mean, we go with Serginho Dest, Tim Ream, Walker Zimmerman, and Jedi Robinson. I mean, one of the questions that we had was about Serginho Dest and his health coming into this tournament, his ability to defend. I mean, he's got two world-class attackers coming at him in Sterling and Saka, so he's definitely going to have his hands full there. And in this back line, of course, Walker Zimmerman gave up the big foul that led to the to the goal for Wales. Confidence in this back line against England?
I think they can bounce back. I think Jedi and Tim Ream were as solid as you could have asked for. There was no question marks there. Walker, I think he's around a group of guys that really, can kind of help him move past the mistake that he made. The one question mark I really have is Serginho Dest. Now, the type of guy that he is not really one to worry about playing on a yellow. And I don't know if that gives me confidence or if it makes me concerned, because he will go out there and just play his game. I'm hoping he doesn't make a big mistake that'll cost him missing the Iran match.
Absolutely. I mean, you could say that for a few players on the field today. I mean, we've got a bunch of yellow cards going. The interesting thing about Serginho Dest is, you play Serginho Dest on the field whenever you're expecting to have the ball. I'm not sure that he's our best, like, lockdown, bunkered down right back.
No.
Whenever I look at this lineup, seeing Dest on the field makes me think, okay, Greg's expecting to go out there and play with these guys. But then you see Haji Wright up top, which to me is a guy that gives you an opportunity to play in behind and really counter, use his pace and his ability to make runs in behind and be physical and go up against these center backs. So it's interesting. Those two picks in the lineup sort of conflict for me.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious to see how this plays out.
Yeah, we'll absolutely see. I'm just going over the yellow cards right now, and I forgot that Tim Ream has one as well. But I think was his pretty tactical? I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, so, but I don't know about Haji. I think he's in there for his physicality as well. I think Josh Sargent, as much as great as he was in that build up to the goal, he didn't really do much else. And then when Haji came in, he was a little bit more physical, and he is just a more physical guy. He has that presence. He's like 6'5". So I think that could be something that Greg is looking at, is someone that's not going to back down from Harry Maguire or John Stones or anybody like that, and really, really be up for a scrap.
Yeah, I don't think anybody in this lineup is going to back down from anybody. I mean, you got 11 fighters on the field. Another question that we have, I mean, you're going to have Haji Wright's height on the field. That might make you think that maybe set pieces is an option. Of course, England is a big squad as well, so I don't know that we really have the advantage. But one thing you can absolutely say about the Wales game is that Christian Pulisic's delivery from set pieces was just not good at all, man. I mean, I don't know if there was any of his set pieces that put the U.S. in a position where they could score a goal. One of the big questions coming out is somebody else going to take set pieces? Do you take the ball away from them? If so, who? I mean, who in this lineup is going to take those set pieces?
I thought Gio Reyna, if he started, would have taken him away from him, because he takes a lot for Dortmund. And that was one of the reasons I thought he was going to start over Weston today, was because those set pieces were so poor. Nothing was really even remotely close to threatening on those. So the other guy I could see doing it is Kellen Acosta, but then again, not in the starting 11. So in this starting 11, I don't see anybody else who is stepping up to the corners or the set pieces.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Weah, maybe. I don't know. I've never really seen him do it. Maybe Yunus Musa could do it. I'm not sure.
Yunus Musa did have a very nice one that was almost an absolute worldie in the Nations League game in Honduras. It was right after the foul that got the Honduran defender sent off. So, I don't know. I mean, maybe. I haven't seen him do it that much. I haven't seen him do it that much for Valencia either. But that was something that stuck out in my head there a little bit.
A few interesting comments here. Dakota Young says, Weston worries me. Look like a pulled groin. That's a nagging injury. Yeah, I think Weston's whatever's bothering him, it certainly looked concerning. It was concerning at the start of the game, but certainly concerning after the game. Another guy who Greg said was fine and is in this game again. So the injury for him is bad, but he can keep playing on it. Andrew says this game screams Aaronson, which I agreed with. I really thought that Aaronson was going to be starting in this game, especially considering the way we saw Weston in the game. A bit surprised to see that there. Burnman 23 says Haji statistically worse than Pepe on aerials. Looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. And yeah, that's definitely true. Haji's one of those big men that is a big man, but doesn't play like a big man necessarily. He's really looking to use his speed more than his physical or his size. Whenever he plays on the field, not one to really go up and like win big headers like Jordan Pefok or somebody like that. But saying that, he's a big guy, and England have to mark him. They have to put somebody on him that is going to take somebody off of somebody else. So to me, that gives you an advantage whenever you have somebody like that they're going to have to mark on set pieces and just give somebody else an opportunity. Because even though he doesn't statistically have headers, I mean, just England looking at him are going to think that he's somebody that they have to mark for sure. But that doesn't matter if we can't put the ball in a position where people can go up and attack it. So I think that's the big thing. Let's talk about Brenden Aaronson a little bit. I mean, I think he's a player that both of us had starting in this game. What do you see? We both think that Brenden Aaronson is going to impact this game. When do you think that he comes on? What do you think he's going to do?
I think he could be a halftime sub for McKennie, either that or at the hour mark. I think if we're in it, if we're not, if we're at least within a goal, I could see Greg throwing him on at halftime and just go run, just press. We see him do it week in, week out for Leeds. I mean, the dude just does not get tired. I really think this game is prime for Brenden Aaronson, and I thought Gio Reyna as well, but apparently that's just, that's an entirely different kettle of fish that we've harped on already. But I think Brenden Aaronson is going to make a massive contribution off the bench.
Yeah, I see Rando Calrissian donates $1.99 and says, who's going to serve Haji up? That's the question. And I think that's been the question for the U.S. throughout World Cup qualifying and beyond. Can we create opportunities at a reasonable clip? The only player that we've seen really put in dangerous balls, I think, on a consistent basis is Tim Weah. I mean, of course, we saw Christian Pulisic is able to play through balls, and the U.S. is really going to look to play through him. There's a big debate over whether that's even a good idea, if Christian Pulisic should really be the center of creativity for this squad, if he's even that type of player. Of course, he can come through, as we saw against Wales, but then we saw him squander a lot of opportunities as well with poor decision-making or whatever else. Tim Weah is a guy that if you could give him the ball in that right channel, he can definitely get to the inline and he can square a ball back. We've seen him do that many times. We've seen him create a lot of goals for the U.S. in that position. I feel like he was dangerous like that against Wales. It's just a matter of getting him in that position. So far, nobody's really stopped him from getting there. So I'm interested to see how Haji Wright affects this lineup. I think he's going to look at to use his pace and get in behind a lot more than Josh Sargent did. Considering that's generally what we get from Tim Weah. How's it going to look with both of those guys up top doing that? I mean, we saw as soon as Haji Wright came on in the last game, Matt Turner hit him in the chest with a dart of a ball from a goal kick or a reset or something like that.
Mhm.
So that might be an option for the U.S. moving forward. I'm excited to see how this dynamic works. But yeah, who's going to serve the ball up to Haji Wright? That's an important question. How do you see if Haji gets a goal? How do you see it playing out?
I think a Jedi Robinson cross actually might be a good shout there. Jedi really impressed me. He has so much pace going forward. I think he's been clocked as the fastest player so far at this World Cup during a game. So I think a Jedi Robinson cross, but also this is just the romantic in me. I'm hoping that the U17 tournament Christian and Haji connection rekindles itself today. That's just the romantic in me, but hey, crazier things have happened.
I mean, what a big story would it be if like Christian Pulisic serves up Haji Wright for a goal against England? I mean, that would just be the culmination of
Their
years. I mean, that
their
give
coming
the
out
script to
party was
Disney.
against England
Yeah.
in that tournament where they beat him, I think 2-1, and I think Christian and Haji had the goals in that game.
Yeah, I saw somebody ask, are they going to play the game soon? The game is at the top of the hour. So 2 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Central, depending on where you are. Fox always seems to advertise like a half hour off so that you tune into their pregame show. They do that with MLS games, and it frustrates the hell out of me. They do that. I think they do that across the board with their sports, but the game is at the top of the hour. And the time slot that all the games have been, I mean, they've all been following the same time slots for the World Cup throughout. So, yeah, that's what time the game's going to be, depending on what time zone you're in. Let's see. Moscow Poor Chick says, it will come down to the subs. When you can bring Grealish, Foden, Rashford on in the 60th minute, it does make life easier. Yeah, I think that's where these big teams really are able to show their class in these tournaments. The U.S. has an 11 that can go toe-to-toe with a lot of nations in the world and just represent themselves well. But whenever it gets down to that 60th minute, and I think we saw in that game against Wales, once the game was getting to that 60th, 70th minute, the players felt it, man. The players were tired. And for England, whenever they're able to bring on these top-level players, these Grealish, Foden, Rashford, guys like that, yeah, they're not going to miss a beat. And those guys are going to be able to go at tired legs for U.S. defenders. While the U.S. has some guys we can bring on as well. Gio Reyna, depending on his health, is a big one. Somebody like Brennan Aronson is going to be able to run at defenders. Maybe Josh Sargent, maybe Jesus Ferreira, depending on how the game is going. I don't know if Jesus Ferreira and Josh Sargent are quite on the level of Grealish and Foden. I don't think they're going to strike fear in the hearts of England like that. But, yeah, England is definitely going to be able to win a war of attrition against us. Whew, yeah. Whenever you get into the later rounds of these tournaments, whenever yellow card accumulation starts coming up, players are picking up injuries. It is the players with the big squads that have a ton of talent that tend to do well, and that's why at the end of the tournament, usually the best team wins. Usually, the team with the best 26 wins. Oof, I'm nervous.
It's just an absolute embarrassment of riches when you bring Manchester City's 2 starting wingers off the bench. I mean, that's one of the best teams in Europe, one of the best teams in the Premier League, and you're bringing their starters off the bench. That's bonkers.
Men on Fire says lower expectations and pray for a draw. Men on Fire, a draw is not going to help us today. It is win or bust. If we get a draw, we're basically in the same situation that we are with a loss, where we just absolutely have to beat Iran on the last day. The only thing that really helps us is a win in this situation, and we'll be going full bore for that win. I'm excited, man. I mean, this is one of those games where I think both teams are going to be motivated to come out and get a result. I don't think England is going to be bunkering or anything. Like they don't have any incentive to do that. And the U.S. is absolutely incentivized to just not hold back and bring it. One interesting thing that I think the U.S. has that I don't even know if the world is aware that the U.S. has right now. I'm hoping today might be his coming out party, but they have a man between the pipes who can block shots with the best keepers in the world. And I'm not just saying that because I'm American and I'm being biased. There's been statistics that come out that show that Matt Turner, as a shot stopper, is absolutely elite in the world. And it's moments like this where you're going to probably be facing some shots against a team like England where he can come up big. What are your thoughts on the U.S. having Matt Turner in this game?
That's not just you saying that. That's Mikel Arteta saying that as well. And that is no small compliment coming from him. he was asked in a press conference about Matt Turner after a Europa League game. Do you feel comfortable if Ramsdale went down that you could roll out Matt Turner? And he said, absolutely. The main thing was that he called Matt Turner a world-class shot stopper, which he is. And the questions surrounding him were, can he play with his feet? And since he got to Arsenal, that part of his game has grown leaps and bounds, because genuinely, he was never really asked to do that in MLS. So you can't really blame the guy for not really having that in his bag that much. But also in international competition, who really cares if your goalie's gonna distribute with his feet that well? Keep the ball out of the net. That's all I care. I mean,
I love it. He's a hockey goalie. I love that. Adam Stram says man of the match, Turner. Yeah, if Matt Turner's man of the match, I mean that could go a long way towards the US getting result. It feels like, I mean, if you remember back in the Gold Cup, which was really the US men's national team's introduction to Matt Turner.
Yeah.
Matt Turner went a long way towards winning the US the Gold Cup. I mean, he had some contributions that stole the US points throughout that tournament.
We 1-0 the crap out of everybody in that tournament. I mean, he really did bail us out a couple of times. And, maybe he has one of those Tim Howard Belgium days, even though Tim Howard is really the only person who's ever had one of those days ever. But no, I think this really could be an introduction to the world to Matt Turner.
The briefcase man says the Yanks are getting sent back to 1776 after they lose.
That don't make no sense.
No, it does not. Grammatical errors aside, the U.S. won in 1776. I don't understand what he's getting at here.
Hopefully, back to the lab, because you're wrong.
Hopefully, we have a replay of 1776 in this one. All right, let's see.
Fun fact. On this day in 1782, I believe.
Yeah, it wasn't 1980.
Was the day that all English troops left New York and George Washington marched in.
Yeah, let's
a little history there for you. The more you know, kids.
I mean, I'm sure we've beaten up England in so many battles over the years. I'm sure every day you can pick out a day where the U.S. beat England. Hopefully, today will be a wonderful throwback to whenever we kicked the Redcoats out of New York. I'm ready for some predictions. Okay, I want to do specific predictions so far. I want you to give me one thing that you feel like is going to happen in this game. It doesn't necessarily need to be a goal. It doesn't necessarily need to be anything like that. You could just pick one player and tell me one thing that you believe they're going to do in this game today.
I think Brenden Aaronson is going to come on at either the half or the 60-minute mark, and he's going to cause, I don't know if it's going to lead to a goal, but he's going to cause someone to make a mistake, and it's going to lead to a big chance for the U.S. And if we can capitalize on that chance, it could go a long way to helping us win this game.
Chad, I want you guys to give me your very specific predictions. What do you think is going to give me one thing that you think one player is going to do today? Let's see. Rando Calrissian with $1.99 says, am I wrong to think England is soft? We can punk them. I wouldn't count on them being soft.
I wouldn't say soft, but I think maybe a bit overconfident.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're a nation that I believe Gareth Southgate made a comment recently, kind of alluding to like them being a nation that tends to quickly get their heads big for any reason. And I think that Iran victory may play to our favor whenever England feels like they're going to just run over us. But yeah, if we can bloody their nose early, I think that would go a long way towards.
And to be fair, and I hate to put my head in the lion's mouth a little bit, but they only got one more trophy than us. So
let's see. Andrew says, "Be right back, dumping tea into the Boston Harbor." I mean, solid. Max Kroll says something that I feel like a lot of fans feel like could possibly happen. Harry Maguire with a massive blunder. I mean, you don't have to earn all of them in soccer, do you?
No.
You don't have to earn all of them. Sometimes the opposition gives you one.
And the harder you work, the luckier you get. And that's what I think Brenden Aaronson is going to be hassling that back line.
Richard Goodall says Kane will be sent off for an injury, which is, I mean, that's a fair possibility. It is, yeah, he's coming into this game with an ankle issue. We'll see how he's able to play with that. I mean, you had some comments about how that could potentially affect his game whenever we spoke a few days ago, right?
The one thing about, well, there are many things that scare me about Harry Kane, but one of the main things is his off the ball movement and his ability to really get in a good space, especially on set pieces and when crosses are coming in. His last league game against Leeds, it's seared into my mind because he torched Brendan Aronson.
Yeah.
He just gave him a little give and go, and he was wide open, and he put his header in the back of the net. Granted, Leeds keeper was underneath two Tottenham defenders because he got the crap out on him, but that's neither here nor there. The scan revealed that there was no structural damage, but he is pretty heavily taped up. I don't know how much that's going to affect his movement, but I don't think it's anything to really discount. It could wind up being a really big talking point.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, coming into the tournament like that. And I think, let me reiterate something I said midweek, and that's that Harry Kane has started like every single game for England at striker in like the last 2 years. He started every single big game in a team that has rotated a lot because they have a lot of great players. Kane has been that thing that they've just built everything around. He is the leader of that squad. So for him to come in an injury like that is an interesting thing. It's going to be interesting to see how that affects things. Dakota Young says Dest/Ream get another yellow. That's not a fun prediction. Brendan Aronson is going to put a through ball for a Weah goal, which would be great. I mean, he had an opportunity to play in Weah in the last game, and he just dribbled it right into a defender, which is something that we saw from a lot of players, man. A lot of players just didn't quite have the poise necessary in the big moment to hit that final ball. We saw a lot of players just either dribble it into defenders or make the wrong decision or make the pass but couldn't connect the pass, and just some silly mistakes that you got to think that exhaustion from being late in a very physical game against Wales, and maybe some of the jitters for playing in your first World Cup game led to a lot of that. If today some of those jitters are out the way and these guys can execute in the moments that they're going to have, because they're certainly going to have moments, we can get these goals and we can beat this team.
Absolutely we can. And I'm seeing something in the chat about us not winning the War of 1812 again. Here's the thing. If you call it a tie and then one team goes home and that team doesn't put the queen on your money anymore, that team lost. So take your L back with you.
Yeah, Max Kroll says, you may have addressed this already, but are you surprised that all the yellow card guys are starting as opposed to saving them for Iran? You know, during the last round of World Cup qualifying, we had a similar situation where the U.S. could have played game theory and maybe could have sat players against Mexico, a game in the Azteca where we potentially could have lost, and saved them for that last game against Costa Rica, where a lot of folks felt like we just had much better odds. But that's not what Greg Berhalter did. He put out a very strong lineup and he really went for it against Mexico. We end up getting the draw, and that draw, along with a win against Panama, allowed us to get through to the next round. In situations like this, Greg has not left it for tomorrow. He's gone for it. So it wasn't a huge surprise that all the yellow card guys are on for Iran. It's a scary thing considering kind of how thin we are as a team. But it's just one of those things. Whenever you're in the World Cup, these are things that always come up. This 2 yellow card rule is something that I absolutely hate. I hate the fact that you can get 2 soft yellows and miss a game. Not only for the U.S., but as a neutral watching games in the tournament, it is always so frustrating, especially later on in the knockout rounds, where some big player that's so fun to watch is out of the game because they picked up 2 silly little yellow cards that weren't even like aggressive fouls. And are out of a game because of that. I just hate that rule. But yeah, the players are going to have to go out there and they're going to have to be disciplined. And that's just it.
I put up this comment here because I kind of want to go off the back of what you were just saying. I am so happy that Tyler Adams is not sitting on a yellow, because I think he really is one of our is our most important player. And he does have a tendency to go into tackles a little too hard. So him not being on a yellow, I think, is massive for us.
I love N'Golo US Eminente.
He's the American Conte.
I've never seen that written that way, but I'm absolutely loving it. Let's see. Do we have any other specific predictions for how this game is going to go down? Let's see. Beat those English arrogant smiley faces. USA should have watched the match Italy England Euro final match to study them and learn how to beat this English side. I mean, that was 2 years ago. So,
That
yeah.
was 2 years ago, but it does bring up something interesting. Greg Berhalter and Gareth Southgate, they do have a bit of a friendship and a relationship, so they do know each other fairly well. So I'm interested to see how the managers kind of go blow for blow with each other.
Yeah, we know that they have a relationship. They're guys that have talked to each other a lot and see themselves as guys in similar positions. They're around the same age. You know, they played around the same time. So Greg Berhalter mentioned that they've kind of cut down the correspondence between he and Southgate recently, and they'll probably pick it back up after the game. But I wonder if the flow of information has been good for Greg Berhalter and if that'll add to things. I don't know. I'm always a little skeptical of that. I'm always the team with the better players usually wins, and it's usually decided by the players on the field. I don't know how much those little nuggets of information can help you in a game day. It's gonna come down to who can make the play, who can not make the mistake in games like this. But it's something to talk about. Jim Fox says the LeBron James of soccer. We're really hoping he has a big game today. I mean, he had a moment against Wales that could have won us the match. It wasn't to be, but let's hope he has another big one today. Let's hope we see like that classic Christian Pulisic that is just scoring goals, beating defenders, just blowing by people. We've seen him do it in the EPL. Here he is against England. Can he do it again?
Fingers crossed. Fingers
All
crossed.
right. I think we're ready. We're about a half hour out, so I think we're ready to just have some match predictions. So, what do you feel like? How do you feel like this game is going to go down? Knowing that a tie does not help the U.S. at all, we have to win this game if it's going to affect things. A loss doesn't really hurt us. I mean, it hurts us, but it doesn't really hurt us. A tie doesn't do anything for us. The only thing that really can help us is a win. So, how do you approach that if you're Greg Berhalter?
I think you go out there and you go for it. I think the situation has kind of presented itself for you to play loose, which is something we've talked about with this team, is that they're so young, they can't get too wrapped up in the moment. And when you have the opportunity to not really I mean, obviously you care about the result. You don't want to get the doors blown off of you. It'll wreck your confidence and your goal differential. But, I think it's presented itself for them to actually just absolutely go for it. And I think, I don't know how it's going to work, but, and I don't know. I think we could see some big shining games from some guys that we really have wanted to see it from on the world's biggest stage. I think, I really think this
show up big in big moments, don't we?
They do, and I really see a Pulisic moment. I really do. I think this is the pressure's off of them right now to where that they don't really have to worry about the result. I don't know, and I think he wants to stick it to those English fans who have been very, very, very mean to him.
Tony Labuska says, well, with a $2 donation, I think we should put Weah as a 9. He can hold up play. That was Brad's idea. That was Brad's idea from the weekend, but we end up with Weah on the wing. So
Greg
we'll see how
watching.
that goes. Yeah, I think Haji Wright's perfectly capable of holding up play. And Weah has been very dangerous from the wing. So we'll see what happens. Soccer Boy Media with a $10 donation says Tim Weah up top center and inserting Reyna on the right side, and the offense would explode with goals. Gio and Pulisic can change left to right wing as they see fit, confusing the English defense. It would be cool, man. I mean, the big question is whether or not we're going to see Gio Reyna. My thought would be if he's healthy, we would have seen him start this game. We would have seen him come in for the Wales game. I think we have every reason to doubt Gio Reyna's health at the moment. Hopefully he can come in and contribute to this game. But yeah, I would love to see Christian Pulisic and Gio Reyna up top. That would be wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, that's something we have been begging Greg for the longest time. But I mean, who knows? Maybe there's a halftime adjustment and he goes with that, takes off Weston and Haji and puts Way at the 9, Reina at the wing, and then brings in Brendan Aronson. And to be fair, that's something England haven't seen either. So they could take a while to adapt to it. But I don't know if he's going to do that. But it would definitely be something that I know everybody on this channel would be very happy to see.
Yeah, I want to reiterate something we said early on, but there's like 300 more people here than whenever we said it at the beginning. So because of the result this morning with Wales and Iran, because Iran beat Wales, we're in a situation against this England game where whether we lose, if we lose or tie, we're essentially in the same situation for the third game. If we lose or tie, we have to beat Iran to move on. That doesn't really change if we lose or tie. If we win, it sort of changes things. But if we lose this game, we'll have 1 point and Iran will have 3 points. So the winner goes on. If we tie this game, we'll have 2 points. Iran will have 3 points. So you're in the exact same situation. So it's win or bust for the US today, essentially.
Yeah. Wales, Wales, a tie would put us pretty much past Wales if what you think Wales can beat England, which I don't think a lot of us think they can do, especially after that team just really seems gutted.
I like Gaza says it's not a tie, it's a draw. FFS for sake. Yeah, I mean, whatever, dude. Get out of here.
Calm down.
Man, I actually love watching English TV. I love British chat shows. I love like Would I Lie to You and Taskmaster and what is it, 9 out of 10 Cats. Like I love all the shows, and I'm pretty familiar with all the Britishisms, but like the United States is the biggest culture in the world, or the biggest culture in the English speaking world, the Western world for sure. And I don't think we're gonna start like, calling things prams and lifts and loos and
I say nil now. Isn't that enough for you guys?
I don't know. I grew up playing hockey and soccer, so I have a lot of like hockey nomenclature that like comes into my soccer world, like calling a keeper a goalie and stuff like that. It's funny because whenever MLS started, a lot of hockey commentators would call soccer games. So you would see like
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I forget the guy's name, but whenever there was a shot, he'd always go, "And a drive." Anyway, it's like a thing you would hear in hockey. But let's get to predictions. Guys, in the chat, I want you to give me your predictions for the game. Tell me what you think the final score is going to be and who you think is going to score those goals. I think I'll go first. I mean, we said 2-1 last game, and it ended up being 1-1. 2-1 just always feels so damn good.
I think 3-2. I think there are a lot of if I were a betting man, I'd take the over in this game. I see goals in this one.
I mean, you would have to. You got to love goals. I mean, 3-1 with the U.S. just really coming out on top would be absolutely awesome. Guys, don't just give me your score. Tell me who you think's going to score. Drunken Ramblings with Aaron donates $5. He says, "Today is more than getting through the group. With 8 years between World Cup appearances, a win would do miracles for U.S. soccer/football," which is absolutely right. I mean, I was at the gym this morning and everybody was talking to me about the game. They were talking about where they were going to go to watch the game. The American sports culture is watching this game. I don't know that they watched the Wales game, but they're for sure watching this game. They're off of work today. It's the day after Thanksgiving. It's a big sports watching game, sports watching day. People are tuned in. So if we can have these guys come out and either get a result or give these fans something to hold on to, give us a moment that is going to live on in the soccer memory for years to come. This is an opportunity to create new fans, to turn some of these guys into stars. It's just a big moment for American soccer.
We have harped on about the result really not mattering, but this really is a hearts and minds game. You have a lot of casual soccer fans watching this. And people who maybe have never sat down intentionally to watch a full soccer game before in their lives. So it would go a long way towards growing the sport in this country and in the build up to 2026. If we were to go out there and really, really show well for because the whole nation is watching.
I'm getting a lot of England predictions right now. which is I get that, and there's probably a lot of people from the British Isles in this in this stream right now. Mark Baker II says 3-0 US. Walker header. Jesus assist Jesus. I mean, that would be absolutely something.
God bless, man.
I said Jesus assist Jesus. Gio assist Jesus. There we go.
We got a real specific one here from Andrew. Pulisic in the 17th, Reyna in the 76th, and Maguire own goal in the 82nd.
I love the 17th and the 76th. I appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely.
Attaboy.
Historical poetic justice on that one. Angel says, where's he at? Angel says over 10 billion, over 2 billion expected to be watching. I don't know about that.
Angel. Maybe.
I mean, that would be like a big chunk of the world population. I don't know.
Yeah, but to be fair, there were about 10 million plus watching on just the Fox broadcast alone for the Wales game. This has the potential to have just massive ratings, and I'm sure all of the broadcast companies are eagerly awaiting the return numbers for that.
Yeah, it's funny once. Whenever this tournament got started and the U.S. played Wales in that opening round, I just didn't hear a whole lot of chatter about it. But once we got to this England game, that's whenever I started really hearing it from like friends who were outside of the soccer world talking to me about this game. I know that there's bars in my town that are running specials today where if you show up in like some type of U.S. gear or something like that, you get like a free drink or something. So this is one of those things where the enthusiasm is going to grow as the tournament goes on. And if the U.S. can do things to justify that enthusiasm, if they can win this game with the entire country watching, I mean, that's going to be a massive thing for getting more people to care about this sport, getting more people to care about these players, and just getting the sport to grow in general in this country.
Yeah, and calling for a Pulisic goal. I mean, this dude is primed for his World Cup moment, for his Landon Donovan moment. That Landon Donovan goal in 2010 really, I mean, a lot of people go and point to that as the moment that soccer really planted its flag in the United States and really became something that you couldn't really miss or really downplay without hearing scoffs on the other side. So a moment like that would just be brilliant.
Big Harry Jake says Pulley wants to flex on Mount, and this is his chance. I mean, that'll be cool. One of the storylines coming in is Pulisic is going up against a couple of teammates today. So that's an interesting thing. One storyline that's really interesting is that I don't know if you guys saw, I forget the team that was playing, but there were some players that scored goals against their birth countries, and they refused to celebrate those goals. And it got us, like, U.S. men's national team's fans thinking, if Musa or Anthony Robinson or like Gio Reyna even score a goal against England, are they going to celebrate that goal or out of respect for their birth country?
Absolutely they will. Absolutely they will.
Jedi, if you don't cut a front flip, I mean, come on, man.
I know Jedi would, he might not do a backflip. Greg has been pretty adamant not to do that. Gio, I think, would definitely bust out. I mean, he's the son of one of the greatest U.S. players of all time. He is, he's primed for that moment. Yunus Musa, maybe, but I mean, I watched the replay of the Weah goal in the celebration. Yunus Musa was losing his damn mind. And I he's such a citizen of the world, and he loves this group so much that I think he definitely feels a part of it, and I think he definitely would celebrate, and the guys would really celebrate with him. I think Jermaine Jones is one of the guys who back in the day when we were grouped with Germany, he said that he wouldn't celebrate if he scored against them. That's a little different. He kind of was holding out hope for the longest time that he would get called in by Germany. All of these guys are young enough and really feel part of this group, and they came up with these guys a lot that I think they would celebrate. Yeah.
That's such a European thing. I mean, we just don't have that in the United States. Like, if a player is on one team and they get traded to another team, like, not only do they celebrate whenever they score on that team, like they are talking about it. They make it a
point to celebrate.
Oh, yeah, it's a big deal.
Being from Cleveland, I remember when Kyrie came back. It was last year, actually. someone was chirping and he goes, "I won you guys a championship." So it's such a different culture. And I think some of these guys have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder as well.
I just want a briefcase, man. I used to have this issue as well. Lose is 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. Loose is 2. I don't know. English might not be his first language. He could be a fan kind of trolling, but I see he got it together right here. Get your excuses ready for whenever you lose. You nailed it. Appreciate that. You only have to learn that once. Once you learn it, you got it forever. I like Michael Mars says here over under 2.5 goals. I think that's that's about where you had it, right?
So I think that's what the odds are set at. Probably that's usually what it is. I'm going over. I think there are a lot of goals in this game, and feel free to bust me when it's a 0-0 draw. I will take that heat.
All right, we're about 10 minutes out. Guys, I want to let you know we will be here after the game for post-game coverage. We're not going to be doing the live stream during the game. So come back here for the post-game. I appreciate you guys for hanging out. I'm going to hop out. I'm going to catch the national anthems because that's one of my favorite things. Appreciate you guys for hanging in there. Let's get your quick predictions right before the end of the game, right before the game starts. I see 3-1 to England from HJ. I see another 3-1 England from Chris W. I see Alex says 5-1. That would be an absolute much. I got a 2-2 draw from Drunken Rambling with Aaron, which wouldn't help the U.S. very much. Both teams can't defend, so that's a 2-2. We got a USA prediction. Scarf Boy says 3-2 USA. I mean, when does the U.S. score that many goals? 4-2 USA. We doubled down. Absolutely, boys. Let's keep the faith. Woo! It all comes down to get this. Guys, thank you so much for watching with us. We're going to be right back here at the end of the game. So make sure you come hang out for hopefully the victory party for the U.S. As we take on England. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Brad, any final words?
Go USA. This is your moment. Go grab it, boys.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. We'll be with you on the other side.